Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first session in our series on social entrepreneurship. I would like to ask the panelists to turn on your cameras, please. Hello, Jay. Hello, George. Hi, Lulia. Hi, Jessica. How are you, everyone? So without further ado, and to make sure to benefit from all the time available for this session, I would ask our esteemed panelists to briefly introduce yourself. We will start with Jessica Ghawi. Please tell us a bit about you, about your role in Berytech, and about Impact Rise. Jessica, you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
So, hi everyone again. There are so familiar faces. So, my name is Jessica Ghawi. I'm part of Berytech and I'm managing the Impact Rise program that is responsible for social entrepreneurship. Basically, Impact Rise is a program that helps entrepreneurs to scale their venture while stressing on the impact they are doing to Lebanon and outside of Lebanon. This is a brief introduction.
Cool. Jay, Professor Joseph, if you tell us a bit about yourself, about your research, and the activities you are conducting at Alayan Business School at AUB.
Thanks, Ahi, and thanks Berytech for hosting this. It's good to be here with the panelists and nice to see everyone here. I see some of our students here as well, which is excellent. So this is good to see. So I'm an assistant professor at AUB. I work in entrepreneurship in conflict and post-conflict zones. I run the Business and Conflict Research Group, which is hosted at the business school at AUB. What we do primarily is link international researchers with key research on entrepreneurship, social enterprises, and business collaborations within conflict and post-conflict zones. And most of our work is done either here in Lebanon or in Iraq. So much of our activity is searching for grants, publishing papers, and try to advance knowledge in the field.
Amazing. Next, we have Lulia from Fabric Aid.
Yes, hi.
Hello. Tell us a bit about your role and the journey of the very inspiring journey of Fabric Aid and what you are currently aiming to do.
Yes. My name is Lilia Halmani Awalfi. It's nice to meet you all. I'm the marketing manager at Fabric Aid. I'm sure you all know Fabric Aid is a social enterprise that grew very quickly in the past 3 years. It started off as a small initiative to help neighbors get access to clothing, and now we're a full-fledged social enterprise that are the biggest collectors in the region, collecting secondhand clothing, fixing them, and reselling them at micro prices. So basically, in a nutshell, this is where we are right now. And actually, we're going into more ventures to close the value chain of clothing in Lebanon, not only to limit it to donations and reselling at micro prices. We're also introducing new projects to close the value chain completely.
I want to salute your very impactful and very inspiring work. And I want to salute all the team at Fabric Aid. Next, we have George Pital from Live, Love, Recycle. George, if you can tell us a bit about yourself and about the operations of Live, Love, Recycle.
Hello, Zahi. Hello, everyone. Okay, so Live, Love, Recycle is also a social enterprise. We started during the garbage crisis in Lebanon. We wanted an easy way to recycle. So we created an application for people to be able to recycle easily. And we also created jobs for lots of people who are working actually out of what we call trash, and we are creating jobs for them. And our mission is to digitize the waste management sector to make it easier for everyone to recycle easily. Thank you.
Thank you, George. You are tackling a very pressing issue that it seems to never be solved in Lebanon since the 2015 crisis. And you will have lots of impact in the coming few years. So I'll kick off the discussion with a question to Jessica and Jay. Jessica, you present the community players that support social entrepreneurs, and Jay, you have an extensive career in researching and in the academia side of studying and developing social entrepreneurship. So each one of you from your own lens, tell us how you see the differences between a typical for-profit business and a social enterprise. We will start with Professor Jay.
Okay, thanks, Ahi. So at a very simple level, so a private enterprise obviously is set up to create a good or service which is orientated towards creating profit. Any money that is made from a for-profit business, it either goes to shareholders or to owners, or it can be reinvested back in the business, but ideally the primary aim is to increase the value, size, and scope of the business. A social enterprise, on the other hand, is created to fill a social or environmental need. It also operates like a business in that it has to be financially sustainable. So unlike an NGO, which runs on donor funds, a social enterprise has to be able to make its own money and continue itself. The money that is made from social enterprises, unlike private businesses, which go to owners, tends to get invested back into the business to further the social enterprise.
Thank you. So Jessica, you've been interacting on the ground with social entrepreneurs. If you can give us a bit the Lebanese context, and we will tackle it even further with our startups. From your end, what is the Lebanese context for the book definition of these differences?
Well, like Jay said, it's two different entities for me, and based on what happens in Lebanon following the explosion and the pandemic and the economic crisis, today we see that these companies need to serve more than their stakeholders. They are driven by a purpose. They want to change the world, and actually they have the power to make it better Lebanon. They're trying to create new jobs, provide essential infrastructure to the Lebanese structure, to enhance the education, improve public health, improve whatever sector that we see that it lacks in Lebanon. So today we see a lot of youth people that are demotivated. They don't know what to do in Lebanon with everything that is happening. And then it comes the role of an impact venture and a social impact venture. Well, where they see the future, they want to do good, they want to help Lebanon. They are actually helping Lebanon, taking a step forward. And as long as we are helping this organization, I think that we will be able to make a better Lebanon with more impact, more social-driven enterprises, and more good, actually.
Thank you. So based on this definition, a key question comes to mind. Where is the line, where should the line should be drawn? What is the correct balance between achieving impact and growing the ability to serve more marginalized parts of the society or more beneficiaries, and achieving some profitability, achieving a decent working package either for the social entrepreneur or for the employees working for this entrepreneur? I will kick it off with a round robin across our speakers, starting with Lulia. Tell us a bit how Fabric 8 is achieving this balance between the business model working as a company and driving the impact by providing decent clothes and wear to poor people.
I think it's fair to say that we always have in the back of our heads the idea of sustainability. It's very important to know that we can go forward in doing these social activities that we're doing before actually expanding. Knowing that the more we expand, the bigger our impact is, and the more we can grow the business But even if we're helping 10 people, let's say, helping 10 people securing the jobs that we have and giving these 10 people a proper service is, in my opinion, way more important than helping 1,000 people with a service that does not function properly. So in order to grow the impact, we need to grow the way we do our business. And to do that, we have to be comfortable in the way we are working. A strong team that is sustainable in-house. We have found that our in-house team, having a proper in-house team is the way to go forward instead of, for example, having consultants or freelancers. You need people involved in the business enough to be able to grow it internally, to later when we actually expand our impact, we can expand it in a correct way and not in a way that can backfire on us, where it brings us more work that we cannot handle. So I think the priority is to make sure that our team and our business can carry the load of the expansion before actually thinking about math and big numbers. It's doing it correctly rather than maybe doing a big impact now, especially that we are new startups. So it's important to stay secure first.
Thank you, Lulia. Definitely, the ability to serve people relies on the existence of financial and human resources and the future prospects of acquiring or growing these resources. So for you, George, tell us a bit about the balance striked at level of Recycle between doing positive impact for the society and remaining cash flow positive or achieving some profitability and growing the business.
So when we had the idea in 2015, we launched our application, but we didn't have fund to start operating. We looked for almost 3 years. We were looking for funds to start our operation, and we got a chance to meet some donors who, like WFP and Acted and BMZ, who allowed us to launch our initiative. When we received the donation, it was until today our business, our model is more social and 100% social, without the business part, because we are still collecting for free. Even the first year, everything we collected, we gave it back to an NGO, so we didn't have any revenue. The second year, we started selling the recyclable, but it's not enough to cover the price of the cost of all our operation. And as of Monday, we launched the e-payment on our application, the cash payment on 50% of our application of our user only on the iPhone, and it should be launched also next week on the Android also. The thing is, even so, our idea is always to as we said, we want to allow everyone to recycle. So, and with the situation happening now in Lebanon, we decided to keep the payment optional. So even there, we tried to keep the service. The service is still free. So if you can't or you don't want to pay for it, it's up to you. So in every move we're trying to do is we're trying to keep it as free as possible, as social as possible. We are also trying to create jobs. We do not want to get. We are creating jobs, and of course we don't want to expand, and the sustainability is important for us. So we're managing now to write grants and all this to get funds to continue our operation and to keep the social impact about collecting and keep on going sustainable. But soon, anyways, yes, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you do. And I will definitely reach out to you after this meetup to learn more how I can be a happy customer of Recycle. So Jessica, if you can tell us a bit about the rest of the portfolio of Impact Rise program and how this first of its kind scale-up program for social enterprises in MENA has been dealing with various, let's say, business models or operating models for social enterprises.
Do you want me to tell you who are the portfolio?
If you can just tell us a bit of the differences between different operating models and how Berytech has had these startups or social enterprises grow their operations.
needed to add something about the question that you asked, is that I needed to make a difference between the corporate social responsibility and the social venture. And a lot of people take these two like alike, what it's really different. And I need to say that
Definitely.
venture need to explain themselves whenever they're going out there to pitch their ideas or to tell about their product and services. They need to explain what they are, what are the impacts, and what are they bringing to the community, and what is the value that they are bringing to the society. And this one makes a social enterprise making impact to the society. So this is from one part. The other part is that we as Berytech, we believe that if you put the startups on the right track of planning and tracking these companies, they will deliver projects that can generate benefits. So also a lot of people think that the social impact startup, they are startups that they do not generate benefit, while it's the opposite. These are startups, they are doing good to the society, they are bringing value, and in addition to all of this, they are making money. So what we're doing in Berytech is we're trying to see what are the milestones of these startups, what is their growth plan, what are their personalized needs, and we're trying to answer these needs by linking them with the right stakeholders. So we're putting like coaches, mentors with these startups to teach them how to scale their venture, how to have a wider vision about their operations, the market size, how to go to market, how to build partnership linkages, and we're targeting some small, like, if you want, subject that we're giving them training about. But mostly in Impact Rise, we're trying to personalize these trainings and these mentorships and coaching to the needs and specific needs actually to the startups, of the startups.
Thank you, Jessica. Definitely scaling up social enterprises is even more difficult than growing traditional for-profit businesses. So, Professor Joseph, if you can tell us a bit about the different types of social enterprises that exist or that have been extensively studied in the literature, and how does these enterprises help maintaining peace and stability in local communities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think our context here in Lebanon and in the region, a lot of the countries that we're operating in post-conflict economic environments. These are vastly different from the advanced free market economies. So we have a number of problems here naturally. Typically in cases like Lebanon, and I don't mean to cause any offense by saying this, but an economy like Lebanon essentially has largely been captured by warlords, strongmen, sects over a period of time. What that means, it eliminates out free competition. The institutions really get taken over by political interests. And what happens is that typically social services get put last. Public funds, public resources, the ports, the airports are typically used and manipulated for purposes other than the good of the population, in particular, the minorities that you find in populations. So in countries like Lebanon and Iraq and Syria, minority groups will always be left behind in a situation like this because the state is unwilling and unable to actually meet some of their needs. So social enterprises play a critical role in a country like Lebanon, particularly if a network of social enterprises are built, if collaborations are strong, supply chains are strong throughout the network. A group of social entrepreneurs can really operate on a sub-state level to deliver some of these goods and meet the needs of some of these minority groups which are left behind. In Lebanon, the environmental issue plays a much stronger role than probably any other country that I've looked at because of the scale of the problem here. But essentially, social enterprises can help fill some of these gaps which are left by society. I think it's really worth noting that social entrepreneurs as individual organizations or groups, the impact can typically can be small, right? And I'm not saying that you know, one or two or a small group of social enterprises can stand in for or replace the state, but the research shows that when social enterprises collaborate, build together, and the networks are strong, and there's actually pragmatic collaboration taking place throughout social enterprises, that they can make a big dent in fixing some of these broader grand challenges that we have in complex settings. So, you know, in addition to, I think what, like I said, gets a lot of attention is the environmental issue here in Lebanon. Developing an export market is obviously a priority as well, but also building social stability within the country. Lebanon is a complex place, which you could almost divide up into 4 or 5 different geographical areas. Social enterprises which are working.
Please, Professor, we don't want to divide the country. This is a serious risk. We definitely don't want to divide the country.
This is where this is the advantage of particularly social enterprises, because they can build sub-state networks across all of these different areas, and even in the region, reaching into Syria and Jordan and other areas of the Levant and the region. And this helps to actually stabilize the region at a community level. Conflict has no...
I want to emphasize about the point of nurturing networks between social entrepreneurs, and I want to ask our 2 social enterprises present today, how did the blast of the port affect your operation or business, and what was your experience in networking and collaborating with various for-profit businesses, NGOs, and CSR initiatives in post-blast relief? So I will start with Fabric Aid. I believe you were very badly damaged by the port blast, and tell us a bit about your experience in collaborating with other NGOs post-blast.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard that our store in Jumeirah was completely destroyed during the blast. We had the 2 members of our team severely injured. Alhamdulillah, they're great now. Sally can actually use her hands. They're doing well. We were not able to reopen the store in Jumeirah. We reopened it in Mono, so this was a hassle for us because the second base store is one of our biggest money makers in this enterprise. So obviously that caused a bit of a hassle for the past couple of months. The store is back, however, so it was a push to do it better, to make it more of a boutique style. We had a sense of what was positive and negative, so we kind of had a new chance to rebirth this concept. As for the collaborations with other NGOs that you're talking about, we did collaborate with Lebanon as part of the UNICEF Foundation, and we were able to reconstruct over 50 houses, over 60 houses actually, and we gave away more than 250 food and hygiene packets. So I think our team was extremely passionate by what happened because we were directly involved, and the collaboration with the other NGOs, finding the different people who know what to do to get us the materials, give us the trainings in order to be beneficial, because we cannot do this on our own. And eventually we took it forward with different donors to bring us money from outside and even from NGOs internally to actually reconstruct the houses and not only clean them and remove the glass, we actually rebuilt them. So, I mean, it was a beautiful thing to see in a horrible situation. The teamwork that we saw with the different NGOs and different social enterprises, everybody working together, it was a beautiful thing to see. I think it's the reason that gave our team hope to come back stronger than before, given that they were basically blown up together in the store.
Well, first of all, alhamdulillah, salamat al-kul, and we hope that Fabric Aid will become even more stronger and more resilient after this very tough experience. So for you, George, tell us a bit about the role that Live, Love, Recycle has played in the post-blast relief effort.
So also after the explosion, we were also injured, and our offices and our warehouse were also damaged. But we launched our new application also in August, just before the blast, and we had also a communication plan about it, which we had to halt, of course. I was also personally injured, but I stayed like 10 days at the hospital. But once I was back and able to recover, once I recovered, we were directly on the ground. Also, we installed a recycling station in Jemese where people were recycling all the things from the blast. And we also collaborated with Acted, who gave us up to 3 trucks, who are still touring up now. They are still touring Beirut, and till today collecting glass from. Till today, we are still collecting glass from the blast from household. We are also putting those trucks. We are collecting donations such as food, today toys for Christmas, and even medicine and clothes that we are donating for NGOs that are distributing them for people in need. So I invite you also to download the app and donate if you want, or if you want, you can get in touch with our hotline 03 11 31 41 and donate. We'll pass by, of course, also for free and collect them. So basically, this was our fastest response on the ground. We also recruited more people after the blast that are working with us. So basically, that's it. And of course, we have the normal service on the app, which is recycling with us.
Amazing, and also for you and your team, alhamdulillah, salamatkum. We have a very interesting point raised by one of our attendees, Joanna von Tokenberg. I hope I was able to pronounce it correctly. It's about the accountability of the government and the development of sub-state services, and how can we work on both ends, the high-level government work and the sub-sectors work, as well as holding the government or the politician accountable and being able to effect proper measures on the ground. I hope I have captured the whole idea of the extensive question. So we can start with Professor Joseph. Give us a lens on various models that were implemented in various countries around this relationship between the government high-level policy making and funding and the sector-specific work of NGOs and social enterprises.
Yeah, thanks, Zaid. It's actually a fantastic question, I think. And there's only a few cases, right? If we think about Lebanon, and that the state and its institutions are working against the people in many sense, and that the network of social enterprises are at a sub-state level trying to fix this, right? There's a danger and there's a risk that if things continue on over time without accountability and without institutional change, there is a risk that social enterprises, that the sector can get suffocated and can actually draw out over time, and that the old institutions retake and recapture control, full control of all of the institutions, financial and public institutions, and things go back to the way they were, right? There are only a few cases noted in the world where this has been able to change. There was a great study done in South America amongst, I think it was Guatemala, El Salvador, and Colombia. And out of the 3 countries, the only one that was shown to be able to change this trend was that, and it started with groups like social enterprises, but social enterprises would multiply their impact by writing on media outlets, getting public, essentially building legitimacy amongst the population. So, and once that was done over time, and it didn't happen overnight, it took a few years, it took probably 1 generation. This actually convinced the business elites to put pressure on politicians to be able to change policy and start to reform the broader institutions in the country. So it actually draws to a fantastic point, and it's actually an action point which, you know, which some are riding the wave of in Lebanon at the moment, but the activity of, you know, what some of our entrepreneurs are describing, if this is multiplied, if ways are found to ride on mass media, which people are seeing through impact through education, and this starts to actually build a base of perception which is changed at the public level, this starts to build ground up pressure on the institutions which have had a destructive impact over time.
Thank you. I want to raise a follow-up question. And I want to hear your opinion, all of our panelists, for the specific case of Lebanon. How much is it important, or is it wise for a startup to be involved in policy making and lobbying, and not only focus on the core operations that will deliver the social impact and will generate profitability or revenues that make it sustainable? So how much should the social entrepreneur focus on lobbying governments or lobbying policymakers versus executing the operations on the ground? I will start with Jessica.
What do you mean by lobbying?
So it's about the political pressure to alter some regulations, to alter some laws that will make it easier for the marginalized parts of the society to either have a decent clothing or being able to recycle in a decentralized manner, versus doing the actual work to provide these services for the marginalized sectors.
Well, my point of view in this stage in Lebanon is that the social enterprises should focus on their operation and not lobbying throughout the government or the laws that we have, since it's not that clear what are the parties and the laws that we have. For the social enterprises, since they are good and they're making the impact and they're bringing the society all together, and now we see that all the people that are in the ecosystem, in the society, they're doing their own hub, if you want to call it, and trying to do good for this country to make it a step forward, like we said before. So as long as these startups are able to concentrate on their operation, you know, Zahi, we're in the entrepreneurship world, and we see that there's a lot of donors and funding companies that they are here to help these social entrepreneurs. There are a lot of investors that they are here to help these social entrepreneurs just to focus on their operation, to be able to scale, to be able to make a better Lebanon, to be able to increase, if you want, the job creation, to enhance the education, to enhance the whole infrastructure of Lebanon. And then the government will fall for these sorts of social enterprises, since we're going to be the biggest and the bigger party.
Hopefully we will reach there. Lilia, what do you think is the position of Fabric Aid, or where should Fabric Aid focus on this end?
Obviously, in Fabric Aid, we're focusing on Fabric Aid. We're not lobbying for any government or anything like what you were saying. But I do believe that social enterprises are the people who knew how to create work and how to do good in the work situations present. So we are the people who have adapted to the work political, economical conditions that are in our country due to, you know, obviously the years and years of accumulated basically running of the country. So basically what I think is these startups or these social enterprises know what's going on the ground. We understand what's happening. We understand where help needs to be put in, what kind of studies we need to make a bigger impact, what laws need to be altered so that we can help these people better. So I do believe that social enterprises should be the people who would advise on creating the new governments to come. Yes, I do think it's a long shot because again, we would not exist had the situation not been that bad. So we're kind of, the big impact that we're creating is because there's a need for us to create this impact. Had we had a government that was accountable, I don't think we would even exist. So our presence was born due to these horrible situations. And I think the only people who know how to fix
you believe that the fact that the government is not even taking measures is the cause of the existence of Fabric 8, and it's not the good intentions but lack of application tools that is the raison d'etre of Fabric 8.
I think it's a combination. Because I would not say it's either or. And let's say, for example, they just installed the government right now and it's working beautifully. That does not mean that Fabric 8 should not continue, because we're making jobs. We have the jobs for people. We're doing well. There will always be people who are underprivileged. There will always be people who are better off and who are willing to give away. This will not disappear. Even in the best countries in the world, you still have these different types of people, which means that social enterprises, they should exist either way. The only difference, I think, would be if the government was accountable, is that we would have more information to work better and to grow stronger. Had we had a database, let's say, of exactly where these people are, what they need, we would limit the amount of people who are taking advantage of us. And we saw that a lot when we were giving away the food boxes and the hygiene boxes to the people who were damaged from the explosion. We have people who called us to come fix their homes and later learned from the neighbors that they actually threw rocks at the windows to break them so that we can change. Things like that happen. People take advantage of social enterprises who are trying to do good. And since we don't have any statistics or numbers or database that we can base our work on, a lot of our work can go to the wrong people. So with the right government, it will make us stronger. It wouldn't make us weaker. It will make our effects stronger. So it can be a balance of, feeding into each other. Social enterprises can take off some of the load from the government by helping on the ground, knowing what's going on, and the government can do the bigger impact of actually giving us what we need to be able to do that. I don't know if I made sense.
Yes, I believe it's more a case-by-case basis, and every social entrepreneur will have their own situation and their own business environment that they will need to operate in. On that note, I want to ask George about Live, Love, Recycle working environment and their working with the government. I believe at some point the internal security forces confiscated one of your trucks, even, if I'm not mistaken.
So, sorry.
No worries.
So yes, we faced some issue with our electrical bike because the law wasn't clear regarding your direct question. We faced some issue with FSE actually not with the law wasn't clear regarding the electrical bikes. So now we are not able to use them. So we are storing them and paying a store just to store them, unfortunately. Regarding of helping the government, regarding of keeping the government accountable, we at Live, Love, Recycle, when we started, few people believed in the idea. All people come and told us no one will recycle in Lebanon, no one care about the environment. People don't want to recycle, and anyways, no one will use an application to recycle. So for me, I hope that we could have a magic things and held them accountable. But I believe with time we can. Today we have 20,000 person recycling with us in Beirut. So it's changed. I mean, the 20,000 and us proved that there are people who want to recycle. Maybe if we continue on growing, we will show the government, no, look, there are people who want to recycle. You can't deny it anymore. If it succeeds with us, it can succeed anywhere. It can be anywhere. So this is how I believe this is our fight to try to make a change in Lebanon. We are trying to build a crowdsourced recycling platform. For someone asked about how are we using technology to as a social enterprise. We want, by using the app, everyone has a voice, and we are building a website for people outside of Beirut who want to recycle to join us, to create a green community there, and to launch a service. So it's not live, love, recycle. It's every person with an app can now say, I want to recycle, look, I'm recycling, and do a kind of petition in his municipality or in his region or in his area to communicate, to say that I want to recycle, I'm here. Even if we're not going to use the app, but at least to show the municipality, look, there are people willing to recycle here. Let's install a system of recycling. So this is how we are using this is what we call for us a crowdsourced recycling platform. I see there are many questions, but
yes. So a
so
general
for us,
theme. Yes, we will try as best as possible to address all the questions, and hopefully we will be able to do so. So as a general theme that's arising from this discussion, it will be more up to us to rely on ourselves to enhance the society and to perform the tasks or provide the services that the most affected people and the marginalized people need the most. One of our attendees who I think is going this way is Zainab. She's asking for advice and recommendations to help her decide whether the social initiative that she will be planning should go more to a non-profit or a social enterprise model, and the pros and cons in the Lebanese context of having either a non-profit or a social enterprise. So I will address this question first for Jessica. I believe some of the applications that were submitted to to Impact Rise were not social enterprises, but registered jam'iyat or NGOs. So what do you think are the pros and cons of having a jam'iyya or a non-profit and having a social enterprise? Jessica? I believe there might be some connectivity issues for Jessica. I will address this question for Professor Joseph. What are the pros and cons of a non-profit versus a social enterprise?
I'm probably not the best person to ask Zahi in a Lebanese context, and it changes from country to country. Sometimes NGOs have greater legitimacy, so in the advanced economies they would be seen as more legitimate than a registered enterprise or an organization calling itself a social enterprise. Often social enterprise won't actually have a legal character in many countries. So
just the case in Lebanon.
But there, and I mean, the only advantage, to my mind, for registering as an NGO, there can be tax advantages in different countries, but probably your local experts are much better at advising about that.
Yes, so Jessica is back live with us. So Jessica, we're discussing the non-profit versus a social enterprise argument. So as I highlighted to Professor Joseph, we don't have a legal character or a legal entity for a social enterprise. Usually social enterprises will have to register in the government as a for-profit entity. So given the Lebanese context and your experience within Impact Rise program, what are the pros and cons of having a non-profit versus a SAL or SARL company?
Okay, so first let me answer the question about if I don't know the name of the girl because I just want to need, so if you have a business that is sustainable and you wanted to make it sustainable, impact venture is not about non-profit business. It's about profitable businesses that can generate money, but you use this money to keep your venture sustainable, surviving, and at the same time doing an impact and good to the society. So if we're doing good, it doesn't mean that we cannot make money. We can make money and do good at the same time. On the other side, if you're talking about the legal aspect and what the negative and the positive side about it, whenever you're a social entity, you do not make a lot of profit. So your profit is just to make you sustainable, be able to pay your employees, be able to do some marketing, to advertise yourself, and that's it. And not having this legal status that have a shell that puts the social enterprises underneath the shell, it's really frustrating for the social enterprises because they have to pay a lot of taxes, they have to pay the social security for their employees, while in other countries that define social entrepreneurs as social entrepreneurs, they they don't let these enterprises pay these taxes, and they do not let them pay a lot of things, and they give them a lot of opportunities to take. Like I know in Holland, I think they give them the offices for free. It's the government that pays for the offices. The government pays for the social security for the employees and for the insurance, I guess. So they have this added value that they can omit from their reports and financial statement and focus solely on advertising themselves, doing the impact, and sustain their businesses, and not worrying about what are the taxes that they are paying and how to survive in a governmental world like Lebanon.
Okay, fair enough. So we have the next question addressed for Lulia and George. I believe, George, you have partially answered it before. It's about the role of technology in your operating model and how you are leveraging the technology. You have talked about the website, you have talked about the app. Anything else you want to highlight in terms of the tech tools that Level Up Recycle is leveraging to deliver impact?
Yeah, it also helps us to reduce our costs using technology. It connects all the stakeholders of the recycling process together, making them working more efficiently together at less cost. It also gives us live data, which is really important to know in which direction we should know, and it also helps us. We don't have with live data. Basically, that's it.
Okay, amazing. So Lulia, can you tell us a bit about the role of technology in fabric aid operations and in enhancing the living standards or the wardrobe of the marginalized society?
Yes, sure. First of all, I agree with George. We all love data. So the more data we can get, the better. Obviously, the world is working around how much information you have. So the more we can collect, the better. Technology-wise, I think the most important thing we have is the operational system. So we're talking ERP, because we collect a lot of clothes. We don't have a manufacturer that creates, let's say, 200 pairs of pants and brings them in. So we usually don't know what's coming in until they get in the warehouse. So it's very important to us to know what is coming in every single day, so that we know what we can sell as well the next day. In addition to that, it's very important for us to know each bin, how much it's collecting, to know that if it's not a functional bin or if it's a static bin, we can remove it, put it somewhere else. We can get more value from it somewhere else. So all of these things happen through a system that we created internally, and now we're applying an ERP system on top of it, so that the whole chain can be closed from the moment the donation gets into the bin to the moment it's sold in the store, because we cannot sell based on an SKU of a barcode, because we have one SKU product. So this is where the creativity has to come in. So obviously, the bigger the business grows, the less we can handle things the way we are now, the more we have to organize and get in, you know, all the tech stuff with the systems and the Microsoft and all of that.
Yes, so basically, as a conclusion or a theme, the role of the technology is more on efficiently scaling the operation of social enterprise without putting too much stress on the employees or on the social entrepreneurs themselves. Exactly. I believe I've captured the both ends of fabric aid and Level Up Recycle. Next, we have a very specific question for Dr. J. It's about the comparison between the support or the performance of the government of Kurdistan and Iraq and our Lebanese situation. If you can, Professor J, answer it very briefly.
Yeah, so I guess there are differences every country in the world. Places like Kurdistan region of Iraq, where there's quite a cohesive government, they tend to be quite supportive of social enterprises, and there are a lot of initiatives to actually encourage social enterprises to fill some of the social and environmental gaps in the society. The difference in Lebanon is that when you say government, there isn't really a government in that sense. It's a separated group of individual actors, you know, which are sometimes housed within sort of collective structures. So the difficulty for social entrepreneurs here is that really there's not really anyone running the ship. So, you know, the capital controls, the infrastructure issues, all of these things sort of culminate in a calamity of challenges that social entrepreneurs have to run, which is why it was really great what Lola was saying at the beginning of our discussion about building models which are sustainable in terms of getting the right human capability, the skills on board. You know, things like paying good salaries for workers will attract good talent. All of these different aspects, because there is this fantastic, you know, human capital in Lebanon, which I think compared to the region is quite different. Highly educated population, very good business nous and entrepreneurial nous. But the situation is really quite you know, it's really terrible. So building sustainable models with some smart initiatives, which our practitioners have mentioned, I think is, you know, it's of utmost importance in the Lebanese context.
Thank you, Professor. I want to wrap up this meetup with a very important question by Carl. It's about the advice from past experience to Lebanese youth who want to create sustainable social enterprises in the midst of all this chaos. So I want to wrap up with answers from each one of you and a message to our youth and our population that is still hanging here in Lebanon on how they can create social enterprises that could help reduce all the catastrophes that we are facing. So I will start with Jessica.
I was thinking about Georgia and Lulia to start with their point about this.
We'll wrap up with that.
Okay, so what I think about it is that Lebanon is in disaster, but the youth, they are the future of Lebanon. They're gonna make amazing work if they just put their mind into it, because we have a lot of needs that need to be filled in Lebanon. So the first thing that I would say that he should think about, what is the need that is there? How can he fulfill it? What is the problem? What is the solution? And you can just search.
Thank you, Jessica. Professor Joseph, any final words on the opportunities and the possibilities for Lebanese youth to start their own social enterprises?
Yeah, there's, I mean, there are opportunities everywhere in the society. And I think the only advice that I would give, you know, the Beirut explosion prompted a lot of people to get involved in this activity. But the truth about Lebanon is that most of the problems that we're discussing and that we're talking about, they've been here for a long time and they're not going to go away in the short term. So I would, my only advice to anyone who's looking to start a social enterprise is spend more time in planning before you actually jump into action. Try and understand where you can get a good financial stream from, how your business model would be. Talk to experts and get advice before jumping in. Build a solid business plan and spend more time in that phase before launching into something too quickly, because these challenges are going to be around for a while. So you have plenty of time to, you know, to build a conceptual model and start to test it so that you can construct something which will go the distance.
Thank you. We have a very specific question from Chanel. It's about kicking off a business and mitigating the exchange rate risks and the security risks in Lebanon. The short answer is you cannot mitigate easily these issues. We will have to co-live with all these challenges. And from our experience with social entrepreneurships and Impact Rise and for-profit startups in our accelerators, Agritech and Cleanergy, we have a case-by-case approach to mitigating the risks of exchange rate, the risks of the security, etc. It involves focusing on exports. It involves the location choice of our factories or warehouses, etc. So it's a case-by-case basis, and we're more than happy to help you with your own endeavors if you can reach out to us through Berytech website. So back to our main question with our entrepreneurs, next with George. Tell us a bit about your message to Lebanese youth who are willing to start their own social enterprises in Lebanon.
Okay, we all said that we have lots of problems in Lebanon, and for us as an entrepreneur, each issue, each problem in Lebanon is an opportunity. I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely not easy at all. But hello.
Yes, we're hearing you properly.
Oh, okay.
And now we're not. Okay, we'll jump. George, you're back? Yes, we lost you for like 3 and again. I feel like this meme. Okay. Lulia, if you want to have a few words to our Lebanese youth who are thinking or willing to start their own social enterprises.
I would say definitely do it. This is the time to do it. Find the need, find the solution, go for it. What I would say is keep it simple, extremely simple. If you find a problem and you find a possible solution that is sustainable, build all of your business plans, like Dr. J said, on that. Don't go too deep into it and make it complicated. And don't think about what app you're going to launch. Don't think about ways, like for example, when we started Fabricate, we started to think about maybe creating an application. People can pick what they want or donate through the application, and it got so complicated it felt impossible to do it. And then we kept it simple, and now we're at a phase where we can actually think about going deeper into that. So find a simple idea, study it well, make it sustainable, worry about advancing it and making it cool later. I think this is my opinion of how a startup should, a social startup should start actually.
Thank you, Lilia. On this high note, I want to thank all of our esteemed panelists and everyone who joined us today for this call. And I want to invite you to keep an eye on Berytech Facebook page for our next event next Thursday, and on Berytech YouTube page to receive or to watch again the recordings of this meetup. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Zahir. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.